Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
Here we are. We are in a time of wild happening. So astrologically, I knew that like in November, there were like big shifts that were to be afoot of, like, and here's the thing is like, I talk about astrology a lot. I don't know. I'm not like an expert. Like I'm not going to be able to just sit down and do your birth chart, but like, I think more than like the average bear about astrology. Like I know, I have a very reasonable working knowledge of astrology. I believe it-ish. I can't when people push back, I'm not going to like take a bullet for astrology, but like I found there to be interesting correlations. Yeah. However, like in November when they were like talking about like some of the bigger like generational shifts that were going to be afoot and talking about the fact that like what the trends were showing of like when these type of things happen, like the last time that we were in an occurrence, like a similar pattern is when like the French Revolution happened, for example, or the American Revolution. And so I was like, I noted that. I did not believe that like the 2 days after this shift happened, you're going to see like massive structural everything. So we're not going to like get into the weeds, but that's what we've been chatting about is just the fact that like everybody is aware that there are numerous systemic changes afoot across the board and
across the globe.
Yeah.
And
the news cycle has been wild. Let's just say that. The news cycle has been very busy.
Yeah. So we're not going to, I don't feel like it's changing too fast. Things are happening too quickly that I know in the past, we have made comments on like, things like our election cycle, whatever. But this is like, there's just so much happening that I do feel like it's going to be a little dated. So I think we're just trying to sum up the fact that like, there was a lot of, this is actually, I'm going to make a segue. It may be inappropriate. I don't think it's inappropriate. I'm just saying it's a chaotic time.
Uh-huh.
Which meant that watching a chaotic drama or
chaotic movie
feels like, sure, why not?
Honestly, this movie was the perfect escape from the chaos of the news cycle this week. So I think it was appropriate.
So this was my choice. I watched this movie almost immediately after Chloe. So back in
I do not remember this.
I cannot believe you did this right after Chloe. Like I am shocked. You were probably like
shocked
what
at the time because I was like, I'd been like, oh,
what made you make that decision?
Please. Yes.
I truly don't know.
You're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Ooh. Well, why don't we read the blurb from Asian Wiki to see what might have piqued my interest in the way back chair?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So this is from Asian Wiki. Again, this is not a good blurb. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
Under the influence of the Yuan kingdom, the king of Goryeo is pressured to produce a successor to the throne. But the king is in love. Well, now I know why I watched it. Because the king is in love with his loyal general Hong Lim. So I was like, fuck, he's in love with his like fucking general bodyguard. Click play.
Yeah.
The king then asks his lover Hong Lim to sleep with the queen with unexpected consequences. What we're leaving out there that I believe is very necessary to the summary of this is he doesn't ask his lover / general to sleep with the queen for shits and gigs.
No.
It's because he needs an heir. So I want to be upfront and say we're not going to really get into like a non-spoiler with this conversation. Like we're just going to
There's nothing there. That's it. That's the story. That's the story right there. So there's nothing to spoil. I mean, like, yeah.
And if we talk about it and you feel like you're spoiled by the plot, it will not take away from the watching of the plot. Like if this is a show you want to watch and you feel like you'd be entertained by, you will. If you listen to this and you're like hard pass. But I do think like what we talk about is what you get, but you still would want to either see it or you're going to be like, yeah, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So expectation versus reality. Like when I was like, hey, you know what? I really would just like to do, like we haven't done a movie in a while. I'm going to toss this one out because I've always wanted to just kind of talk. I always wanted you all to just see it. This was the only way I was going to make it happen.
Well, and you sold it after we watched It's Okay, That's Love. Because you're like, you want to see like Zoe Sung, like, here you go.
You can see his whole new world. You can see his whole new world. The globes of his world pumping and thrusting for 2 hours. I mean, you do. His ass is like a fucking third character in this. Like it's
It is.
It has his ass has a GMC.
It does.
So expectation versus reality. What did you expect before hitting play on Vicky, which is where this is on, versus what you got?
So I would like to first go on record saying this was not the perfect escape from reality for me. This was just more what the fuckery. So I expected a lot of fucking and I got a lot of fucking.
Mhm.
But I also got like so much what the fuckery that I was not. I did not know was coming. Like I kind of knew it was because Leah, you're like, you just need to see it. Like you're like in the ending, and I'm not gonna say the ending yet. And you're like in the ending, like I did not see that coming, but then also I don't know what other way it could have gone. So I don't know what I was expecting as far as the ending, but that was definitely some what the fuckery for me. So yeah, I mean, talking about this will be an enjoyable experience. Watching it was not my most enjoyable experience.
Fair.
Okay, so I expected fucking, and then I expected it to go off the rails at the end because that's what you promised. You promised fucking, and you promised like absolute what the fuckery at the end. And that is what I got, and I was fucking delighted. I enjoyed all of this.
Oh God.
Really did. I loved it. Well, I loved it I was massively entertained, but it went off the rails in a way that I so did not see. Nothing could have prepared me for what actually the catalyst for like the beginning of the train derailment, the bump or whatever. Nothing could have prepared me, and I was so fucking delighted.
So I thought I was getting like a cerebral historical.
Right.
Wow.
I can't believe you must have been like, what the fuck?
I was like, I guess I'm going to just watch this. Like, I mean, I'm curious because there's like clearly like a queer subplot.
Right.
And it's like called A Frozen Flower, which feels kind of like, heavy. I was like, this is going to be some sort of like psychological, historical, grappling of sexuality and like, complicated relations. I mean, yes. Yes, it's like the Temu version, but yes.
Right. The Temu version.
But just like sometimes Temu, like, you might just luck out. I'm going to say not sad about it. I mean, in watching it again, I was like, because when I watched it the first time, I was like, man, I'm bummed that it wasn't better because that could have been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This time watching it, I was like, you know what? Yes, it could have been amazing. But sometimes like you just want to eat a Big Mac or like, not a Big Mac maybe, but like, you just want to have like something that's like kind of unhealthy and like, it's like eating like Beyond Burger or something, like something that's like pretending to be healthy, but isn't, but you're like, I know it's really just kind of some junk food. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. So I too was willing. It had enough drama that I was willing to be like, whatever, it's fine. Like, I mean, it's fine. I wish it was amazing. I wish it would change my life.
No, it doesn't. It's not life changing.
Here's the thing is that this is exactly the type of palace intrigue I want.
Right.
So this is the thing. Were there like subplots to overthrow the king and like put someone else on the throne? Yeah. Were those conversations less than 5 minutes of the movie? Also, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need all these old men in hats sitting around for 20 minutes talking.
No.
So I didn't get that. And then the best part was they all got killed in a massive sword fight. And I was like, that's what you do. You don't like piddly around like they do in all these other dramas.
There was more nudity than there was men with hats.
More nudity and a lot of sword fights. And this is, I mean, I'm sorry if
that's a euphemism and it's literal.
If there is a drama like this, if like you want to present me a historical that has like this little bit of actual palace intrigue and then the rest is like fucking and affairs, that is what I want. Like, just I want that on record now. So
you know what? Maybe I've just solved this for myself of what I need to do is like reimagine this in a different context and just rewrite it. Because I mean, like, this is a highly fixable, like if you brought me this script, I'd be like, the bones are all here.
Absolutely.
Literally. There's so much bones.
But
So many bones.
like a few key like tweaks. We're moving from like bones, but like overall like meh to like fucking amazing. Like it wouldn't.
It goes from bones to shock and awe.
Shock and awe, and then like we're gonna get into the incredulity because I have. Okay. But, okay. Let's talk about the goals, motivations, and characters, and how did they execute or not? Because this is the thing: is I do think watching it the second time, I was able to articulate more where I think the show doesn't execute, and I'm gonna say it dies with the beats, but there are some GMC wibble wobbles too. I mean,
sure.
I will say so. We're gonna have Amy do the king. Each one is like yes, except you're like it's like yes, like.
Okay, so the goal, motivation, and conflict for the king. So the king's goal is to produce an heir. His motivation is to hold on to his kingdom because, people want to depose him. Conflict, he's gay and can't make love to a woman and his wife, the queen. So he makes his lover and chief of his guard do it. And chief falls for queen and vice versa. Oops.
Yep.
This is I gotta talk a little bit about this before we move on.
Yeah.
There are so many other ways he could have done this. I don't understand why he couldn't have just gotten like fluffed by his lover.
Right.
Like just a little fluff.
Yeah.
And then like the queen hops on. He doesn't even have to look at her. He can look at his lover the whole time. He can be fluffing.
Like why like a threesome?
He can be fluffing the lover.
The lover in the front, the queen's riding in the back. Like it's a minivan.
Yeah. Like there are so many other ways that he could have solved this. I was like, you're the king. Like,
agreed.
Think this through. He's just like in the other room fucking painting by this.
peeking through the crack in the wall.
I can't.
This was not a tactical genius. Not a tactical genius.
I mean, like he basically tells her, he's like, I can't get it up for you, so someone else is gonna have to do it.
And all I could think of was do you need my help? Because there's many a way you could do this.
Right. He acted like being gay was a disability. He's like, you are not ADA.
You're not ADA compliant for me.
Yeah, no, it was
for my gay boner. So
like sometimes, when you see a show and you're just like, I think you're confusing like what this means. Like I don't think it works this way.
You need an heir. Get the job done, sir.
And like
do it for your country.
You don't even have to look at the lady. Like, don't even look at her. Just have Hong there, just writhing around everywhere you need it to be.
Right. Like, close your eyes and think of Joseph. This is not,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could diagram out like 12 different positions that would have like made it palatable.
I actually paused the movie and thought of several positions. Like, I literally had to sit with myself on the couch, being like, "This is the stupidest way." But I mean, okay, King.
Okay. So now I'm getting into the chief.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
His GMC.
Yeah.
And let me just say, he fucking gets the job done. Like, I mean, he was given a job. And that's the other thing. I was like, at one point I was like, I had also forgotten kind of what was his big bad mistake. Cause he had like a big bad mistake. Then he had some like, bad mistakes. But in reality, I was also like, you're also just very committed to your job. Like, you were given an assignment and like you were seeing it through, sir.
Yeah. So I don't know what the big deal was.
His goal at the beginning is to make the king happy. Like, the king's like, I need this, bro. Like, I need this lover. I need this groom. Like, I mean, we're also going to have to talk about the grooming that happens. We will. But like, he wants the king to be happy. So his motivation is to do his duty to the utmost of his ability. But his conflict is that he gets pussy drunk.
Double oops.
Double oops. He tripped and fell. And
he gets like, that pussy's like Hennessy. Like, he is just like, I am fucking hitting it every chance. Like, once I don't even feel like the first time changed his life. The first time didn't change his life.
Well, he couldn't do it at first.
The first time he couldn't do it. The second time, I would say it didn't feel like it changed his life. I don't feel like his whole body was rewired. But that third time, the second completion time, third actual attempt. I mean, it was like watching like Omegaverse like slick happening. Like he just became like he nodded.
That was slip and slide. That was a slip and slide.
That was slip and slide. Yeah.
Well, we can talk. So Chief Hong was a member of a King's Guard who had essentially him and his like fellow guard members had been brought into the palace when they were boys. So like they were like little.
Yes.
And they lived there. So the king completely groomed this kid. He was like, "Oh, that's a cute one." And when the kid was like,
the king was kind of young, but not young enough. Not young enough.
He was a teen, and they were like school age.
Yeah, it's still gross.
Yeah, I'm not. Like he's like
right.
But I mean, he wasn't like 6. I mean, for people who haven't seen it, he wasn't like
correct.
He was like a teen, like not okay, not okay.
No, yeah, he was an old teen, and then these were boys who were like preteens.
Yeah. And so so Chief Hong had clearly like been groomed, and so he'd only ever been with the king, I'm going to assume.
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's really all he knew.
Yeah.
So
that later too.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the queen. Poor queen. So her goal was very similar to the king's, which was to produce an heir, and her motivation was she needed to produce an heir to hold on to power. Like she was also like she was on the game plan. Like she was she was with the king on that. Okay, they were teammates.
Yeah.
And then the king's plan was terrible, but her conflict was then
she actually had a win. Then she was like, his plan is so bad for him, but quite good for me.
Yeah, because then she got dickmatized for like the rest of the movie from Chief Hong, and she could not get enough. Like she definitely was all for him. Dickmatized totally. So that's what that.
Can we talk about like, is anybody reading the books in the library after all this happens?
Oh yeah, they keep screwing in the library, and
like all the fucking is in the library.
Wait, my favorite was that he tries to like when he meets her for like one of their rendezvous, and he's like, "I was reading up on military tactics." So then when the king can't find his like boy lover, he's like, "Where are the military books? Start the why that like
give me the deep dive of chapter 12."
Yeah, because he just was like, I know he wasn't reading those military books. I don't know. It's just so funny.
So, okay. How many surprise... So, I'm sorry. I do love the surprise Pikachu meme. How many surprise Pikachu faces was the king when his plan derailed? And was the surprise justified?
This is the dumbest king to ever king.
I'm going to say he was like, on a scale of 1 to 10 surprised Pikachu faces, a 10.
He was absolutely shocked that this didn't go the way he wanted. Like, he thought this was going to be great. He was like, I have groomed this boy since he was 5 years old.
Love me and only
me. He will not betray me.
The first, if he had successfully fucked with him enough that the first time he tried to fuck the queen, he couldn't. He was just like, bro, I can't. Like, I cannot do it. And the king was like, yeah, you gotta do it for me. Like, I am your alpha and omega and everything in between. You must go and dick my wife for this nation.
Right.
And Chief Hong's like, fine. And like goes in there and fucking like sucks some titty and gets the job done. Like there was
He does. He goes after the boobs immediately. He's like, oh wait, these are pretty cool.
He's like, I'm motor boating. I don't, my
like these are some fun bags.
So the king, I think that's the thing is like, he was like, go back and do it till you like it. And then was pissed when he liked it.
Right. I mean, what do you want? You inherently have to like semi like it to like perform. So like, what did you expect him to do? It was so stupid. Like, king, you're dumb. You're dumb.
So that being said, how did the story go in following like the beats? We talk a lot about beats. Because I'm going to just make the assertion the beats aren't really like, there's a couple beats in here. Like we have a crisis point.
Yeah,
sure.
We do.
But I would say that it's missing quite a few beats. So, like, what plot points would have strengthened the story if you feel like that we're omitting some beats?
Oh my. I think so. The actual like love story between Chief Hong and the Queen. Look, like, let's be real. They were basically teenagers who like discovered sex for the first time. So like they were not in love. They thought they were in love. I'm sorry, they were not. They were not. It's just she finally had an orgasm, and he finally
Had an orgasm.
had an orgasm with a poon, and just like loved it. Sorry. And
Well, because
so,
he's also coming off of this like Stockholm syndrome relationship
yeah, I
with
mean,
the king.
like, so I think that he was just like, this is fantastic, and I want to keep doing it. I don't think he really, he didn't know that. Like, I loved it because like he didn't know the Queen. He didn't know one thing about her. They never had a conversation.
No, we didn't have fun and games for sure.
No fun and games.
I mean, well, the fun and games was fucking. But there was no fun and
The fun and games are at the end of the movie. The fun and games are in the final scene.
Oh Jesus. So yeah, we have no fun and games. We have no and so because of that, there's like no romance.
Mhm.
Just because the fucking is not the fun and games. Like, I mean, sure, fun for a bit, but like it's not really. But that was like there, yeah, like you said, there's never a conversation that occurs. He buys her a perfume satchel, Jewel, which was sweet because, you know, she lost hers when someone tried to murder her. So he like bought her a gift. I mean, that's as much as we hit like a fun and game. Like that really was like the core of the beat was like, I bought you this necklace. And then she was like, here's a handkerchief I made you.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the library.
Let's get back to the fucking.
Let's go back to the library. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me is I was like I kind of like, I feel like the king at least and Chief Hong had like common interests playing their little instrument together. Like, I don't know. But yeah, he never talked to the Queen. So that drove me crazy.
I think we had like bad guys close in as a beat. We did have a crisis point as a beat. Right. We had a theme stated at the beginning because at the beginning it's very much kind of like a lot of like, you know, we see the other guard. I mean, okay, let's talk about that. Even like the theme stated part is at the beginning, we see one of the other guards is escaping with like a female employee, like, you know, a maid basically. And the punishment for the guard escaping with the maid is meant to be death. And Chief Lim is like, goes to the king and is like, look, this is my friend. I'm going to beg for his life. The king's like, no, fuck it. He must die. And I was like, oh, okay. Like this is like going to show kind of like, here's the thing, like you fuck with the rule of order, like you're going to die. And then I was like, oh shit, like the guy doesn't die. The king forgives him. The king is like, that's fine. I'm going to like let my lover have his win. Everything is copacetic. Like everyone's forgiven. Back to work.
But this is the last chance. Like he makes that clear. Like one more guardian, one more guard member fucks up and you die. Like that was they did state that. Yeah.
But it didn't feel like believable at that point. Like,
well, true.
And so, but I mean, like, I think that was meant to be like a theme stated.
Right.
Was like, you're all at one last dick chance. Like anyone else gets a fucking hard dick and puts it anywhere near someone, like shit's going down.
This is an explicit episode, but you know what? The movie was explicit.
It's an NC-17 film.
I mean,
I had to put in an extra pin code to watch it.
This wasn't just like camera angles. This was like they were naked together. I mean, this was wild.
I was like, how is that not actual fucking? Like
I know they wear like privacy things,
yes.
but that was a lot.
They must have had one hell of an intimacy coordinator on this shoot because
their tongues were actively licking against each other constantly.
Oh yeah,
he was like, the tongue against the tongue with just like drool coming down,
and like tongues on. Like he definitely had a nipple in his mouth like multiple times.
Oh yeah,
wild.
They explicitly 69.
Oh my God, I forgot about the 69. That's why I was like, they're like young people discovering new positions, and they don't know a thing about each other, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They're like, my body does this, your body does this. Whee!
Yeah, but then they're like, it's love. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
They think that they don't know any better. They don't
know any better.
So
I think they think they're in love.
Yeah.
What do you think this movie was trying to ultimately say? Like, what was like the, like, you know, like this movie has a message of some sort.
Do you want me to read what I wrote?
Yeah, because I'm going to just go on the record and say, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think it's an actual message. I think it's one message for one person. Like, if you love your lover's wife, you'll lose your dick and balls.
Like castration is never the answer. Is that the theme? Because let's talk about the scenes. If you're listening to the podcast and you haven't seen the movie, let's talk about the scene.
Okay, so this is where, you know what, the king, I felt like when I saw it, I was like, look, fucking justified to some degree. To some degree. The king makes so many bad choices, but I was also like, oh, like, only because it's not just, he doesn't just get his dick and ball. Well, why don't you get into the dick and ball cutting, and then I'm going to get into like how he got to that point.
Well, no, let's talk about how he got to the point.
Okay. So he gets the point not just for fucking the queen. I do believe he gets castrated in large part for getting pussy drunk. However, he makes a tactical decision that is a very bad choice if you are meant to be loyal to the king.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about palace intrigue. And one of the very small subplots is that because the king cannot have an heir or has yet to be successful, there's plans afoot to like instate another royal as like the crown prince, the acting, and then they'll depose the king, bring in the crown prince. Everything will be copacetic with like the Chinese emperor, basically, and they'll have like a better vassal and a better person. So there's this plan of kind of like in the background to like get rid of the king. And the chief has been working on this plan. Like the chief has been actively like on the hunt for who the people are involved in the assassination attempts who are like looking to undermine his lover / sovereign. He finds out that through a series of stupidity and hubris and power drunkenness that, and I'm making it sound smarter than it is. It's like very quick. It's like 90 seconds.
Yeah, it happens really quick.
The queen's brother, who is also in the court, essentially switches allegiances from the king to like to this like coup attempt. And the queen's brother is like, yeah, I'm going to go all in on the coup attempt. That's my plan. So the coup attempt's foiled. Meghan has already alluded. Everybody who was involved in the coup gets fucking killed in like a big red wedding-esque, like, you know, they're just all just murdered. Like the king is like, do it. And they all come in and like, they all do it. And so the chief, like the Hong Lim, has to go and kill the queen's brother because he tried to depose the king. That's what you get when you play the fucking Game of Thrones. Like, I'm sorry, that's the job. Like, you are the bodyguard, you are the general. Like, you got one job. Because he is so pussy drunk, he's like, fuck, I don't want to kill the brother of like the best sex I've ever had. I guess you can go. So he commits treason. You're fucked at that point. Like, you are fucked. Like, you fucked the queen, but you could have also been like, sorry, I got pussy drunk and I fucked the queen to like give an heir. But you just committed treason. So that's really like that was a bad choice. Like, at that point, I was like, look, the king's a bad guy. But the king hadn't gone like full psychotic yet at that point. Like, at that point, the king was just dumb, not like a full psycho. And so I was just kind of like, look, what are you going to do? Like, you got to kill the brother. The brother made You got to kill the brother. And whatever.
Agree.
The queen's still going to fuck you. Let's be real.
Let's be real. She'll
be sad about it, but then she'll like hate fuck you.
And the thing is, the king found out. He knew. And he was like, okay, that's it. Like, now you're going to be loyal to me. Promise that you're going to be loyal to me and only me. And no more of like being loyal to the queen. You're loyal to me. You can't
fuck the queen anymore. Like, because at that point he had been very jealous. So he's like, no more fucking the queen. We're going to bring in some other rando to fuck the queen now.
Yeah,
like,
some other rando's fucking the queen. You're not doing it, and you are loyal to me. And Hong Lim's like, you're right. I'm sorry. You're it. I'm loyal to you.
Just one more time, though.
And then, but he wants one more time. But then one more time.
One for the road. Because she's leaving, right? Or is he leaving? One of them.
He's leaving. He's supposed to be leaving.
So yeah,
The
because
king's sending him away. The king is sending him away.
The king's like, you're going to the wall, basically.
Yes, yes, you Jon Snow, you're going to the wall.
He's basically Jon Snow tells him to go to the wall to fight the White. And so Chief Hong's leaving, but he has to go see the queen one last time in the library. And of course they like get the fucking, and it's like taking forever. Like I was like, speed it up. Like I thought you liked this. Like, let's go. I mean, it seemed to last forever. And that's when the king is like finds out that Hong left his bed and gets up and stomps out in the rain. And he's like, where are the military books? And finds them in the library. And what happens next is where the movie completely went off the rails and where I was absolutely like, so this is the thing about like the violence that was in this movie. Cause I kind of said something, Amy kind of just mentioned that there was like an arrow in the head, which I agree. But
a surprise arrow through the head. Like,
a surprise.
In the very beginning of the movie, I was like, somebody could have warned me.
But most of the violence was like very fakey looking. And I don't really mean that as a criticism. It just had that like kind of like 80s, 90s movies.
This is in the early 2000s. This is like early 2000s. This is probably 2010, right?
Right. But
2008. Okay.
I'm saying I kind of had that like fake.
No, but I'm saying like it's early. So it's not like big, like gory special effects or anything.
Absolutely not.
So okay, go finish your point.
Well, I was going to say, and so there, he has the queen and Chief Hong tied up and they're like, please, we're so sorry. But I mean, they literally got caught with his like dick in her. Like it was like, there was no mistaking it. And the king's just like,
she didn't even get to complete.
She didn't. And the king's just like, castrate him. And I was like, I think I screamed out loud. I was like, what? That was turning him into a eunuch.
We're not talking about like, because I was planning and I ran out of time to like research, like, because I know there's like, there's castration that's just the removal of the testicles.
Right.
And then there's like full castration.
I mean, do we know?
No, that's what we did. We went full because at one point he said you cut the root. Like he went.
Oh,
it wasn't just the balls. We went dick and balls.
Right. How's he still pee? Because we like scab over.
They put like tubes in to like let the pee come out.
Was anyone doing that to him? Well, maybe because they did have him in like a cell then.
It's what happens afterwards in his aftercare does not seem to be
aftercare. How did he survive that?
We're going to get to what happened in the post-surgery.
Right. Because he's literally just standing there and they're like,
standing there naked and he's like, cut it off.
He's Donald ducking. He's got no pants and a shirt and they just slice it with a sword. Like, that's it. Just, you're done.
His thighs. Yeah.
You're done. Just, I could not believe that happened. That was not on my bingo card.
A flesh bag just hit the ground, though. I mean, I feel like the movie, like, I'm like, I can't believe that didn't even happen because it felt like a movie where they would have done that.
Where they would have just let it like meat slap.
Like thunk. Like a thunk.
Yeah. I'm surprised we did.
I don't care.
So, okay, I just want to talk a little bit. So this is just from Wiki, but like, I do want to say a little bit about like where the, like, what the ideas were kind of behind this, because like there were ideas behind it, kind of. So A Frozen Flower is from a song from that era. And so the director, Yuha, has a quote that I'm going to say, look, I'm reading English translations. There could be more nuance. And so I just want to always allow for that. But he said, I always felt uncomfortable with the genre, but felt I should try to overcome those feelings. I'm like, what genre? Like queer love? It is also a new challenge for me to focus on a melodrama. And he stated that the film was a love story between men. I'm going to say I don't think so.
That's not where you took that drama.
Well, no. He does, because we do have.
Well, actually, yeah.
We'll get to the end, but like,
yeah, because.
And it's also very, very based loosely on a king who had rumors in like the 1300s of essentially like having like queer to look. I also find it very problematic that like, so I'm going to say it, but I'm also going to say like, I find this problematic is the idea that like, and I feel like this fits the 2008 era vibes well, of like, you can't have queerness without some sense of like debauchery,
right?
Or, like fucked upness. Like, it's not just like you just get to be a person who's queer living your life. Like, there's got to be
Right. And then get punished in the end.
yeah, there's just got to be like, despotic things, or you're kind of like also just morally gray or corrupt in some way. Like, and so, yeah, I just want to like name that before we continue back into some of the, to the fun and games, which is, okay, so he said it was a love story. The director was like, I was looking to make a love story. In the end, the king does ask him, as he's putting his sword through the chief's body, did you ever love me? At any point, was I ever like your special lovey-ducky? Like, lovey-ducky. And I was like, look, of all times, like, I don't think you're going to get an honest answer, but maybe you get the most honest answer. Another dumb choice to me, though. So he said, so do you believe what does that? Well, first, what does the chief say?
No.
The chief says, absolutely
No.
not, my friend. No.
Honey-o.
And
Ani.
oh, you can put the sword through my heart. And no, I never did love you. Ever, ever. So do you believe the chief ever really loved the king? Or did you believe that he told the truth at the end? And also, do you think the chief ever really loved the queen? Or was he just in love with a sweet, warm cookie?
Oh, no, I don't think the chief loved the queen. I don't think he knew what love was, and I don't think he loved the queen.
Right. I think he thought he loved the king in the beginning, because especially when he was like, I mean, like the first time that he tried to fuck the queen and he couldn't, and then he's in bed with the king and he's like weepy and like snuggling into him, like, why are you making me do this? I think he thought he loved him until he sank into that warm cookie and was like, oh, wait.
Yeah. I do think he loved the king. I actually do think. I think he was groomed to do it, but I do think
that's why it's so hard. Right. That's why it's so hard, because that's all he ever was allowed to do.
Yeah, I think honestly, if he would have gone to the wall to fight the White Walkers and gotten some time away from the queen, he would have been like, okay, I don't love her. Like, I okay, now I realize I just really, really love messing with pussy. Like, that's what I really like. But I like love the king. That's what I think he would have realized but he was just so wrapped up in the queen, like literally, that he just couldn't think. I don't know though. What do you think?
If he went to the wall, I think that he was on such like I think the wall would have made him think he loved the queen more.
Oh, okay.
He would have gone and been like, I'm suffering in this noble way, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think he would have just idealized the queen more and more.
Interesting.
I think he would have maybe gotten away with it is if like there had to be something that had like like he was also attracted to the queen's suffering, if that makes sense. Like, I think there was like a tragic romanticism of like this queen who like is beautiful, unloved, and like you're the person who's like filling her bucket, that like you got to get caught up in that story. Like, I am the hero of this story. So if there was something that could have like replaced the hero, like, I'm not going to advocate like unconsensual sex, because basically when the king was like, well, we'll just find someone else to basically fuck my wife and you'll move on, that would have done the trick eventually. But I also can't say that would have been like a great plan in terms of like, I'm not going to support like non-consensual sex in the name of duty. But I feel like in some ways that would have like, if he saw he was like replaceable, like he had to become disillusioned with what happened with the thing. Because I think any absence would have just made him like more obsessed with her. I think he had to be like disillusioned by her, because in some ways I feel like he was slightly disillusioned with the king. And that's what set him on that path, was like, he had put the king on a pedestal. The king let him down, and that was kind of like his, that slide. So he had to have like, the queen was now on a pedestal. He had to like see her get knocked off in order to like.
Yeah, I think he definitely as soon as the king was like, I need you to mess with my wife, I think that really affected Chief Honks. I don't think he ever thought the king would ask that of him. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think that disillusioned him with the king.
Both relationships, basically, I'm going back to like the Stockholm syndrome thing, because both relationships were basically in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't choose either of these people.
No, poor Chief Hong, man. He couldn't do anything right.
Nope. Then he lost his dick and balls.
He lost.
His dick and balls were doomed.
Oh my God.
Okay, but this is okay. So he gets castrated.
Mm-hmm.
the timeline is a little muddled, but it was not a long timeline. Like he was not castrated and then in jail for like 6 months. It was like 24 hours.
I feel like the end happened in like days.
Yeah. I mean, it was quick.
And so here's my question. If you get your dick chopped off,
Yeah.
should the people staging the rescue at least find you a cart so you don't have to ride horseback?
They
And
put
he
him
wasn't
on
even
the
side
fucking
saddle.
horse.
He was not even side saddle.
I said to Leah, he's like sitting on an open wound. Is that what we're doing?
On a zero
A gaping, like,
A gaping wound. They did not surgically remove this stuff. They
did they
slashed it.
cauterize? Like, was there
Right.
No.
there sutures? Like,
No, they just cut it. You saw just like a big bloody hole in his trousers. He's laying in the prison with his bloody trousers and his dick.
You're right.
And then they're like, okay, we're busting you out. And then you see him on the horse, like half unconscious. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit. But I also don't think you feel like, no, what? Like,
he
get
should have
up,
been
what?
wheeled around like Wesley when he was mostly dead in The Princess Bride.
No
Yeah.
wagon. Like throw him in a fucking wagon.
Chief Hong's like, you dumbasses. You brought me a horse? What is wrong with you? And then he like gets back on the horse to ride and save the queen. I'm like, get on the fucking horse. What is wrong
And when
with
he was
you?
riding that time, he was riding like full gallop.
Like,
And I'm
no,
right.
like nobody even gave him like a donut to sit on, like nothing.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like he got to where he was, and it seemed like he was there for like a minute before he was like, no, I got to get back and rescue her. And I was like, bro, like your dick is still like probably warm.
Yeah.
It's like
Take a rest. Take a rest.
You are not on that saddle.
The pacing at the end is wild.
Insane.
And
Insane.
sometimes I have like, like readers will be like, excuse me, your book is like missing. And it's like, look, it's fiction. Just get over it. But I was like, but this is his dick.
Right. It's plausible fiction. Like this is like he should be dead.
And he shouldn't be on the horse.
He probably should have like a raging infection. Like that's probably
I
what.
thought that we were going to have like at least a month of recovery. Like I thought we would have some time. But the fact that we just go immediately from
Like
the guillotine.
show the passage of time with him having some facial hair and going back to get her looking,
Yeah.
Good point. And not bleeding in his trousers, like actively bleeding in his trousers.
And there was no need. There was no need.
and walking with zero change in his gait.
Not
Like zero.
He jumped in the air with his sword. And I was like, you
Crazy.
had your dick cut off like less than 48 hours ago.
Your dick is still on the floor in the library.
And
Like we haven't even had the cleanup crew come yet.
it's still hard. And we didn't have and there was no need. Like if you had just said, we see some seasonal shift. We see like the leaves change color and him get some facial hair. Okay. Like it had nothing to do, like the rest of them, like, because like they still have to like find out she's more preggy. Like, okay, so you find out she's pregnant. She knew she was pregnant already, but like, it could have taken another month until like there was just enough time built into the plot for him to have had some recovery. I was just like, no, really. Like, okay, well, let that.
How are you riding horses aggressively?
After this at-home medical procedure. Okay. So a couple questions for Amy. All I could think of watching this was, does the king embody that Taylor Swift verse, "My boy only breaks his favorite toys," or something? It's something like that. My boy loves
That's the name of the song.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one. I mean,
Basically what the king did.
if I can't have my toy, you can't have my toy. I'm gonna destroy my toy.
Yeah. And he kept being like, do you love her? Was it just lust? Was it just lust? And he's like, I love her. And that's when he's like, cut it off. Cut it off.
I mean, the chaos of that whole situation where he's just like screaming at his guard.
His guards are like,
Really?
are you fucking for real?
Yeah,
Like that. Now that guard who has to like go home to his wife and be like,
By the way,
you're never gonna believe the day I had today.
Yeah.
I better get a bonus for
And which Taylor Swift song best connects to this movie?
Look what you made me do.
Yeah, love it.
Love it.
Love it.
And then Megan, do you have a comp for this movie? Like if
my
you're
God.
if you're listening to this being like, man, I don't know, I'm still on the fence. I'd like a little comp.
I honestly don't know because this was what because I feel like a comp should probably be historical.
I'm going to say a comp for me. I'm going to give a comp.
Yeah, please do because I was struggling.
So a comp for me, except the comp I'm going to give is fantastic. So I'm going to say if you would like a comp, but it's very good, The Handmaiden.
Yeah, I was thinking about The Handmaiden the whole time. I was thinking of The Handmaiden the whole time I was watching this, and I'm like, The Handmaiden has a story.
Yes.
A very good story.
And there's a lot of threats of castration in it. Like he has jars and jars of dicks. Like he is like the king after the king is like, gone Henry VIII. And like, this was like his Anne Boleyn moment. If we were going to see the king, if the king still lived, like would he have gotten to like dick number 7? Like would we have just had like a cacophony of dicks? Like,
right. Yeah. I actually was thinking of The Handmaiden a little bit. I mean, it's also like a tragedy at the end. The king and Chief Hong, they kill each other at the end.
Yeah.
So
whereas The Handmaiden is not a tragedy at the end.
No. Handmaiden ends very well and has good like plot twists. Like it's just good.
But it's also sexually explicit.
It is sexually explicit, but it's not like
it's also women, and the women aren't dumb. And so
no, that's what it is, right? It's women.
And it's queer. It's queer. Yeah.
And it also doesn't like have this weirdness where like to be queer you have to be either evil or immoral and like bankrupt, because that's just like that's fucked.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the end, was watching this movie worth it to see Jo In-sung fuck like a demon?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like
100% yes for me.
100% yes.
Not normally a yes on the fucking like I watched a man and a woman to watch Gong Yu fucking and was like, I can never get that moment of time back in my life. 0 out of 0 stars recommend, unhappy, could care less. That was quality fucking. Quality.
Yeah. It was quality fucking, but like that was the best part of the movie. Like there's nothing else that like
it was 95% of the movie.
Yeah.
How is castration not the best scene?
I mean, it was so drama. I think
if we could have cut out basically every other scene and it's just like a little bit of Jo In-sung like porn.
Cut out what else did you need cut out?
No, what I'm saying is like I don't care about like the palace intrigue, none of that stuff. Like let's just have him and the queen.
Seconds of palace intrigue.
This is what I'm saying though. That's the only part of the movie that was worth it. But I don't know. I did not enjoy myself for these 2 hours. Like I was like, what the fuck?
That's fair.
Why?
I
was just like, why?
I enjoyed it enough for both of us.
His globes were glistening.
Yeah.
And
they oiled him up before this.
Yeah, I'm not a big like fucking fan. I mean, it's not like I like watched I watched Bridgerton and was like mildly bored. Like I don't need to like be titillated, but there was just something. And after watching It's Okay, That's Love, I was like, I just have to revisit it to see like, and I was like, ooh, yeah, no, like I am picking up what you're putting down. Even I'm going to check my brain out at the door and I'm just going to go pure id. And now I like it. So would I say it's good? No, not at all. Would I say it's entertaining and I recommend it? Sure. I mean, it's 2 hours, ridiculous fucking and
a ridiculous plot
and a full-on castration. All right. So what was your thought on the ending? And by ending, I don't mean when they're dead. I mean the ending
after.
Because in the movie, you see the king is like painting a picture of he and the chief together in this like idealized setting on their ponies, riding in a meadow in love. And at the end,
with dicks intact.
Yeah, dicks intact.
Yeah, everyone's happy.
Everyone's dead. The queen is going to have this baby. And then we finish the movie and then we go into a alternate reality where the king and the chief are enacting that movie, riding together, smiling, wind in their hair on their ponies in the meadow. And
like, are we supposed to believe that that's what they had? Because they did not.
Yeah, it was like
not a smiling in the meadow relationship.
Maybe if we would have seen them do that like earlier in the movie, but then and I was like, this is too little too late. You cut off his dick and ball.
Like I was not like,
and then you killed him and you want me to like think this is like an idyllic love at the end?
I was baffled. Baffled.
I was
And that's what I was
too.
like, I ultimately don't understand. Like, if you had left that part out, I would have been like, what does the movie have to say? Well, it's a tragic story of like obsessive love gone wrong. But when we had
Yes.
the ending, I was like, well, I don't know what the fuck we're trying to say.
I know.
Like, are we
Same
supposed to be
thing.
thinking they had this beautiful love and this is what they lost? Because that was not at all.
No. And they both are like thrilled. They're both like smirming at each other. It's like these like, they're like cooing, like, ooh, ooh. Like,
I mean,
you
I
know?
will say what I was, because I was trying to figure out like what the point of that was. My thought was that was like that was like the king's like dying kind of like dream. Like that would be what he would want in the afterlife. Because I
like,
do, but
like,
like,
he doesn't deserve it. Why did we?
yeah, I know. But I was like, I don't care about the king's dream.
No.
Really? Like, and I also kind of thought that most of the movie was from Chief Hong's perspective. So like,
Yeah, the
what
king
does
was
he
never
want?
The king was the villain, essentially.
Yeah, like you never tell us what poor Chief Hong wants other than the queen's
And
poon.
we also have left out that, like, beyond just him castrating Chief Hong,
Right.
he then murders everyone.
Everyone who knew
He
about
murders everyone who knew
Heads on
about.
spikes.
Yeah. So he murders everyone who knows that, like, the queen's not pregnant with his baby, but Chief Hong's. And was that always going to be the plan, too? Like, that was always going to be the plan?
yeah.
And then he also, I feel like, was going to murder the queen after the queen had the baby, like, most likely. Like, she basically was telling people, everyone except this baby is going to die. Everyone is going to die. Like,
Yeah.
even like the last guy who was like killing everyone else, she's like, you're going to die too. Like, it's just a matter of time for you.
Yeah, she's like, just, you're going to be at the end of the sword too.
And then beyond just the murdering of the plot, he then began to torture everyone else who like helped Chief Hong get away. Like, he had like burning brands. He would just sit there and like
yeah.
their legs. And so I was like, by the end, he wasn't just naive lover turned castrator. He then became like
A mass murderer.
a mass murderer.
Yeah.
And
I
then
know.
we end in his POV of like happiness with his lover, and that's
Yeah.
No, it was dumb.
It's
and we were never
wild.
really in his POV. We were only in the Chief's POV.
Very rarely. I think we very rarely were we in the
Just
king.
when he was like spying, just when he was like looking through because they wanted to show us that he was like looking through the door at them fucking.
Yeah, which I was like, is this turning you on? And if so, get in there and do it.
And it didn't seem to be turning him on.
God.
He seemed like bemused to resigned, would I say, his, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if I don't know. If he thought Chief Hong could do it, why couldn't he? Ugh, King, you're lazy.
I mean, it was just, he needed us to sit there and be like, look, I get that it's daunting, but there's so many ways you can make this work. Like I said,
So many.
he needs to lay back. He needs Chief Hong to straddle him. So that is
Right.
everything he's.
That's all he sees. And then the queen just gets on in the back. She's
And we
got a
have-
He never has to see her.
We have a minivan, like,
of
yeah. And I mean, like, and get on at the last second. Like, get on at the last second.
right.
The
This can
oil's
all be
up,
done.
ready to go. Just jump on as it's coming out. As it's coming out, just jump on. And like, eventually, if you're lucky, something, even just scoop it all up and like
Scoop it up and put it in there
Oh
like
my
turkey
God.
baster. Like turkey baster.
Turkey baster.
being there right as it's coming and be like, okay, grab it, shove it
Yeah.
in.
Come, like there
Don't
are
even have to
ways.
do it. Don't even fuck her. Just as you're coming, just kind of like Chief Hong's there to like take a straw and just kind of like connect it in. And, like, fill her up. It's like going to the gas station.
Poor Chief Hong. Poor Chief Hong.
I mean, just at least come up with a hose. Come up with a dick hose.
Right. I know.
Fuck.
I know.
Okay. So on a scale, how many roasted chestnuts would you give this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
2.
I mean, this is hard. It's not a good movie. Like it's
I
like
give it like a solid 4, but I'd say a 10 out of 10 must see.
that sums up how I feel. I feel about it the same way you do. Like it's not a good movie, but you absolutely should see.
Yeah, it's not like I mean, because I feel like a lot of times when I watch the movies and I don't like them or they're bad, I'm like, it just sucked. Like I just didn't enjoy it. I was like, this sucked. I loved watching it.
Yeah, like I fully enjoyed the like it was like 2 hours and 12 minutes. Like I was engaged. I enjoyed my time.
I mean, it could have been a drama, although they would have spent a lot of time with the intrigue.
There would have been a lot of intrigue if it was a drama.
But I
So
would
many
have
men in
liked to-
hats.
I would have liked to have seen the beats work a little better. Yeah, I mean, it's fine as a movie. It just was a fucked movie.
I would have liked to see less grooming. So I think I would have wanted to see like an actual love between the king and the chief, like that had been like developing when they were
They could have
adults.
been the same age. They didn't need to. He did not. The chief did not need to have been a child. They could have been like best friends from a young age.
Yes,
And they-
that's what I'm saying. I would have liked that, and then I would have liked the intrigue of the queen coming in. And like, why couldn't have we got a like a Y2s? Why couldn't have been like a full like polyamorous thing? Like instead we got the king being all possessive.
Yeah, and even if the king was going to get possessive, which again, I agree that I would have preferred anything but that. I would have at least liked to have seen the king try his plan. Like, what about a why choose where they try to be like, hey, let's all do this together to make the baby happen. And then while they're doing that, the queen and the chief start to develop some side feelings and be like, well, let's take some of this side, like to the sidebar and do some of that too.
Yeah.
Because they could, like, that wouldn't have felt quite so stupid. That would have been like,
Right.
okay, like that's believable too. Like you were all in this together, but then you two kind of got like a thing of like curiosity.
Yeah.
You explored that. And then maybe like a conversation, like at least one pillow talk, like something to be like, I like tuna. And somebody else is like, I like tuna sandwiches too. Oh my gosh, we have something in common. We are in love. Like just give me fucking something that you had beyond her nip.
Beyond fucking.
Yeah.
Or
No,
your
that's
perfect tight ass just pumping away.
let's rewrite this as a drama. We can do it.
Yeah, where's the second male lead SOS?
I
Second
I
lead
don't-
SOS.
Who's the second lead?
The queen, I guess. Well, real quick, can we talk about some of the cast? Because did you know that Song Joong Ki is in this?
Yes.
Where?
Yeah,
He was one of the guards.
one of the guards. I thought he looked familiar. Like I thought the guard. I was like, is that Song Joong Ki? And
He's the
it-
babyface guard, but he was actually a baby when he was the babyface guard.
Oh my gosh, I did not even put together that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, and Park Sung Hoon is in it as well, and so is Jung Sung Il.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I looked it up on like I looked the cast up then because I was like some of these guys looked really familiar and it was driving me crazy. So Song Joong Ki actually had like a lot of these were just like guard like Kingsmen 1.
He had a
Kingsmen
couple
2.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah. His name was No Talk Notak. So yeah, I thought he looked familiar and yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, now you're right. Park Sung Hoon was in
Mhm.
it, and he was just one of the grunts.
Yeah, there's kind of a bunch of them that looked a little bit familiar. And once I looked back all through the cast, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I just did not put together that was Song Joong Ki. I just wasn't thinking of him. And
Yeah.
then Jujimo. Okay, so the king is Jujimo. What else has he been in? Because he was pretty cute.
Yeah, I liked him.
So he was in Empress Key, which I did not see. But I know that's like been like a popular. Just trying to see like what else has been like more of a recent.
He's now 66.
Oh, wow.
Now, back then he was not.
So he hasn't been in a whole lot since that. Like it looked like he had been in a lot. Frozen Flower was his fourth to last movie. His last movie that he has on Asian Wiki was in 2013.
Oh yeah,
And
here we
He
go.
was in a drama Big Issue in 2019. I don't recognize. I mean, like Empress Key was like the main, like that's a famous one, and that was kind of he did that 2013-14. All right.
Cool.
He was awarded Best Actor in A Frozen Flower for the Baksang Awards.
Well,
He was nominated?
It looked like he won it.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, he played it good.
No, I know, but okay. Okay.
I can't
he
believe I
did
not
what
realize
he
that-
did well with what he was given.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
you're
did
right.
well with what he was given. Yes.
He Best Actor for A Frozen Flower in 2009, and then he also got Best Actor for Empress Key at the NBC Drama Awards, which I've not seen. Empress Key is not the one with Ji Chang Uk. Isn't he an Empress Key? I might be thinking of a different.
But also, you're acting like
Yeah,
Jonas
he's in
was a teenager in this movie, and he would not have been a teenager even remotely. I believe he would have been like 30.
Who?
Joan Sung. He was not a teenager in this. So if this movie came out in 2008, his birthday, how old is he? He's older than me. He is, oh no, he's not.
No,
older.
he's not.
He's 43. So he's an 81 birthday. So in 2008, he was like mid 20s.
He looked really young in this. He was like super thin.
I didn't think he was a teen. Mid 20s checks out.
Yeah, I think so.
But he's bae.
He is. I loved watching him in this. It was really cool to see him in a different role. I had a great time.
And he committed. I mean, he really
He
just,
did.
when he had the fuck, it's like, you give me a scene, I am going to act like I am in the height of bliss each time.
And like I said to Leah when we were talking about, I was like, how do you research what it feels like to be castrated? Like how do you know?
I think you go, yeah.
How to act that? Like, where are you getting a reference for that?
I feel like I could. That seems like the least imaginative. I think I could even act that out.
Yeah, maybe.
It would go like this. Anyway.
Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you for brightening my life with this movie. Amy's shaking her head.
I'm so glad I didn't talk about it with you guys, because I just was like, you know what? Someday I'm going to make you watch it, and I don't want you to know what's coming.
Look, if you would have told me that he gets castrated, I would have been like, I'm not watching that. So I would love that I had absolutely no idea. It was just pure surprise.
Not a joyful surprise.
I forgot what it was like. He was Donald ducking, and then I watched it because I was like, I had to rewatch it because I hadn't seen it in a couple of years.
Right.
So yesterday I'm rewatching it. I'm like, oh, it is like straight Donald ducking.
And they just show his like butt cheeks below his shirt. Like it's just so when they drop his pants, like everything about it. It was very cinematic.
That dick had been in the Queen like 90 seconds earlier.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like going from the highest highs to the floor.
I mean, all the way to the ground.
Yeah. All the way to the ground.
Just a dump on the floor. Blump, plop.
God, that's crazy.
And then
horseback riding.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a pillow. At least a pillow.
I love Amy's like, I'd give him a donut. Yeah.
I was just like, I was like, has he been in there a long time? I was like, no, he hasn't.
No, there's like zero passage of time.
I don't know how you can watch this movie and not be alarmed that he immediately got on a horse. Because that was my first thought. I was like, what is he doing straddling a horse right now? What is happening?
If he's gotten the full chop, they've got to insert a straw. He's got to form scar tissue around it so then he can like urinate and stuff. So it was
there's zero healing.
He was just going to be like, he was just going to die from like nothing.
Toxic shock? Like not being able to pee? Like
that idyllic final scene should have had him with a bloody crotch.
Yeah, just like he blew his what stitches he had, or
the fact that they ended it like that was
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We
I'm
really
sorry.
hope
this was the most explicit. Yeah, this was the most explicit one I think we did. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm not fully sorry.
I'm not sorry at all. I can go more, but yeah. Give me an Omega verse next.
Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Till next time.
Annyeong.
Annyeong.
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!